There we go. Dun, 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 dun. Trying another spot in the house. This is in our living room. Here we go. I think I've done this spot before. I'm not sure. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna set up here today. Um, so hello everyone. Good morning. A slow tour. Yes, Suzanne. Exactly. Um, yeah, I was like, let me try another spot. Here we go. But welcome everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending where you're tuning in from. Let me see here. All right, got this set up. Oh, I am so I've been having a rough time. My chest has been really tight, and so I still have that residual cough from COVID. Um, and so I don't know, it's been I had like a little bit of a low grade fever. Um, and then I've been having like weird weird like, fever dreams where it's like the same dream over and over. I think they call them looped dreams. So I definitely haven't been feeling top notch. So I'm like, oh, whew. Every morning it's like, okay, I gotta get myself started here. Um, but thank you so much. It is definitely awesome to start my week off with everyone. Um, and yeah, it's the last couple days, it's just been me here. Brian was in California. He's gonna be getting back later today. Um, so I've been managing all the critters and the plants. So I'm very eager for him to come back home. Yeah, because it's a lot for one person. Um, but yeah, I guess a few updates. Currently, I am battling spider mites. So a few weeks ago, I showed you that I had picked up some plants, and one of those plants, the philodendron tortum, apparently had spider mites. So not like doomsday, I'm not like, oh my God, everything's over, in that little corner, but I'm treating all the plants in on my desk in my office right now. And the tortum already lost one leaf. Yeah, one leaf. And um yeah, I'm kind of keeping an eye on everybody, but I'm having to treat everyone. So I was like, oh, of course, it was too good to be true. But at least it's not thrips. So I'm fine with that as long as it's not thrips. We are still recovering from thrips. It's gosh, a lot of our plants. Like even our tripartum had gotten pretty badly attacked by thrips. And so now it it started coming out with some new leaves, but they're like it has a little leaf spikes. Um, Thankfully, the thrips did not get to my esqueleto, but this guy is 2 years old now. And she had one leaf that she lost exactly a year. It was like exactly a year. And then in January, she lost another old leaf. Now, these were the original three leaves. So now this is the only original leaf. But the problem is that she's just been giving me runners. She gave me another leaf here, but you can see not as big. But this is a runner and it goes up and down and it actually goes behind me and it's over here. It has spanned the entire thing. It went behind the television and it poked back out over here. I did get something called keiki paste, and so that's usually used for cloning the orchids, and I'm gonna experiment. I got that paste, gosh, like 2 months ago or 3 months ago even, and I just kept forgetting. So, but it's also been really cold here. Gosh, yesterday even it was like 27 degrees. It was pretty chilly. I had to put on the space heater, to bring the temperature up. So I don't know, it's not like the best growing conditions right now in the living room at the very least. Um, our kitchen stays much warmer, and our office definitely stays a lot warmer. So I don't have to worry about that, because stuff will consistently grow in there. In our bedroom, majority of the plants are succulents. Jules just jumped on my lap unexpectedly. Hi, buddy. I can't do this right now. So for those who don't know Jules, this is Jules. He is a very large cat. Oh, hi. Okay, hello. Hello. Oh my goodness. Okay. So that's Jules. He is going to be 13 in April. So, oh my God, he is so heavy. Dude. Okay. I love you very much. But I can't I can't hold you. Oh, I don't know if he'll let me do it. Just to show you the size of this cat. Here we go. He is so heavy. Oh my God, that hurts. Last time we actually weighed him, I think he was like 15 pounds or 16 pounds. Um, but he definitely weighs more. So he dwarfs, like he makes our neighbor, she has a Yorkie, and he makes his name is Jacko. He makes Jacko look like so small in comparison. He is such a large cat. But yeah, no. I did not expect that. So sorry. Let me see who else. Maple is asleep on the couch and Mozart is asleep on the heater. So Jules is the only one walking around, and I think Lexi is asleep. I last saw her right before I hopped on, and she was in the bathroom asleep next to the heater. So it's chilly, guys. So yeah, everyone's looking for some comfort, and I guess Jules was like, "Hey," he wanted some attention there. Um, but yeah, so just dealing with the spider mites. Um, Also, gosh, I'm gonna share it on the Facebook group, but I thought it was pretty funny. I had done the seed scam class last week, where for folks that weren't there, there is a replay. Definitely check that out. But basically, just talking about how to look at listings and kind of see about these seed scams, because here in the Northern Hemisphere, it's, seed planting season is coming to a head right now. So folks are starting their seeds, so that they'll be ready to put out as the spring starts. And there was two YouTube videos that actually dropped over the weekend about scams. And so one about scams on Etsy, I believe. Um, and then there was like another one on I think just in general, like the scams that we're seeing online. And I was like, oh my gosh, yes, because it's not, yes, I focused on seeds, but this is definitely something that's happening, even with just regular plants, right? So um I was just like, yep, it's that, I felt the need to just bring it up. I had done a similar class a few years ago. Of course, now the new AI pictures and stuff, I updated that lecture. But a lot of it is still true, unfortunately. And I actually I keep getting ads on Marketplace, specifically on Facebook Marketplace, for these fake flowers. So I got this one as well. And I keep getting cat flower photos that are coming up for me, but they're saying 10 seeds, orange spotted cat's eye flower, rare garden plants. And then it says cat's eye flowers are often used in tropical themed landscapes because of their bright colors and unique shape. For $5 and $5 and $3 shipping. And then which one came up for me? Ah, 10 seeds, pink long hair, cat's eye, dazzle flowers, floral garden planting. All red flags here, of course. And this is the flower that is coming, the flower that's coming up. And it's these AI generated plants that folks are putting out there. And it looks like it might be the same person because they use the same description as well. Muppets, Gabby said Muppets. Yes, yes. Um, and so I think the one that I showed during class, where was it? I don't know. I thought I had it. Maybe I had put it into and then these. And so this is a fox face instead, but it says 10 seeds, white fox flower seeds, rare flower gardens, flower plants gardening. And that the petals, let me see here we go. How do I make this go away? There we go. The petals of the foxflower are like foxes, inspired by the magic of nature, injecting a unique sense of design to your garden. A sea of pure white flowers, the petals of the white foxflower are as white as snow, as if they are the footprints of the white fox exploring the forest, bringing a pure beauty to your garden. Holy moly. I mean, hey. Somebody really enjoyed either AI generating these descriptions or writing. They definitely added the flair to it, but these are not real, obviously. They are AI generated. It's no, there is no such thing. Now, are there flowers that might have um, a configuration that I think they're called schemas. I'm trying to pull the abnormal psychology out of, college abnormal psychology out of my brain. I think they're called schemas, but basically how when people see certain patterns, kind of like two eyes, a dot, and like something on the bottom, you immediately think that's a face, right? So we end up seeing things like babies will, recognize like a happy face or sad face, those types of things. And I know there's another word too, like when we see faces in random things, like, the back of a car or like on the side of a building in the brickwork, but so yes, there are definitely flowers that might kind of have an illusion where, oh, look, that kind of looks like a bee, right? There's some orchids, there are some, especially orchids, they do exhibit mimicry. And so they try to look almost like beetles or bees, right? Because what they're trying to do is essentially look like an insect so that on the pollinator insect, sometimes it's the males will think, oh, that's a female, and will actually mate with the flower, thinking that it's another bee or another beetle. And then that actually ends up pollinating. They help move the pollen into the necessary female reproductive parts of the plant. And it's just tricking them. So I mean, yes, are there certain plants that might look you know, they might resemble something else, absolutely, but nothing like that, unfortunately. No. I did see a comment pop up about pothos if it grows very slowly. It really depends. So if you're just starting off a pothos from a cutting, they do tend to root pretty quickly, in comparison, let's say, to like Scindapsus. Um, so with Scindapsus, gosh, that took several weeks, maybe like 2 months before I actually saw roots on those. Um, it was several weeks. I was getting a little nervous. The plant, like the leaf looked fine. So I said, okay. But then once it got roots, it really came in. But pothos, they're pretty quick to root. And so you might end up having at least the beginnings of some roots, like even within a week, maybe under 2 weeks. Now, that's just roots. In terms of actually starting to grow, they can start growing relatively, we're gonna say quickly, but it's not like, you know, from one day to another. But during the more growing, like the growing season, so like during the like late spring, it'll start to kick it off into the summer. Now, if your home is being kept relatively stable, right? So it's like 70 degrees, maybe the, you know, at like the lower spectrum, if it's higher, and the humidity is relatively high, like over 45%, you might see your pothos continuously throw out growth regardless of the season, right? um in terms of like leaf turnarounds, so if it's a cutting, um they're putting a lot of energy just kind of putting in their like creating their roots. So always remember, it's roots before shoots. So if you're starting with a cutting that has no roots, the plant is going to focus on its energy into making those roots first, because it needs to pull up water in order to continue to photosynthesize. So the process where it gets sunlight and makes its own sugars, so it makes its own food. It can't do that without water as part of the chemical reaction. And so therefore it needs to create the roots in order to get the water to kind of refuel so it can continue doing the process. So that's why plants like cuttings will focus more so on putting out roots versus putting out growth. And then once those roots are established, then you will see like it will start to grow. So then it will start putting energy into new leaves. And don't panic, but you will see that the leaves tend to be smaller than the mother leaf. That's because there's a lot of energy going into making those leaves. And so therefore, it tends to produce kind of like immature leaves again, because it's kind of starting off. And so it'll take a couple, you know, more leaves coming in, and slowly you'll start to see mature looking growth again. But at first, be ready for that. You will see tiny leaves. These, for instance, my escaleto, it was a 3-piece like there was 3 leaves with that node at the base that had rooted in sphagnum moss. And then they like potted it up like that, and that's how I bought it. So of course, the first time it made a new leaf, it's super tiny. Turn here. Here we go. Super tiny in comparison to this leaf. It is very small. So yes, that will happen. That will totally happen. So if you get like a big monstera and you cut it, you have that node and you start it off, you might get some small leaves before you start to get big ones. So so all of this, sorry for the digression, but all of this was just to say the growth rate of a established plant, so one that has roots, is good, is ready to go. Let's say it's in substrate, is very different in comparison to a fresh cutting that is not established. It's going to grow at very different rates. Now, of course, once established, like pothos, they can establish in water and be totally fine in water. They can be kind of hydroponic. kind of set up in like a jar of water, and they'll be fine for a really, really long time, and they'll start pushing out growth. Um, but it's all about that stage. Now, if you purchased a pot of, let's say, pothos from like a shop, a lot of those are actually cuttings. They're all cuttings, and then they just kind of plop them into that substrate, and so sometimes they're not even established when they're sold. So sometimes people get these really full, really beautiful looking baskets, but it's all cuttings. Um, so that's all not one plant. And it might take a little for you to start seeing that growth because they're still establishing themselves. So not all nurseries do that in terms of selling them, like shipping them out before they're actually established. Most nurseries will wait until they're established, but I have, oh my gosh, yeah, like sometimes the ones at Home Depot, like they're literally, you can pull the cuttings out and it's like just starting with the roots, like they're all like cuttings. So yeah.
This particular one I'm talking about, uh, I purchased it from a small nursery that was in a mall, and it was about 3 or 4 inches tall, not
Okay.
not very wide. It only had a few leaves, but it looked quite nice. But I purchased that in about November, I think, and I was thinking that by now it should have more leaves. It does have a few more leaves, but one of them has turned yellow,
Oh.
a lot of yellow on the leaf. Uh, One other one did have something like that, and I cut it off. Uh, so, and I put it in the bathroom because I thought if it needs humidity, that would probably be a good place. And I've got it on a shelf that's completely opposite my north wall because that's the only place I have a window. So, so it's not getting certainly not getting direct sun, and it seems to be kind of holding its own, and a few more leaves are coming, but I was just concerned how fast should it be growing, uh, because I've got a peace. I put my peace lily in the bathroom too, and it is just absolutely tremendous how quickly it's growing from where it was before in a normal place in the house where it was getting filtered light, but it just kind of seemed like it was standing still. And now there's quite a few more leaves, and so the peace lily is going to be there forever because it's doing so nicely right there, and I've got it kind of like underneath that window, and so that the sun will come down on top of the leaves, which is what either you had said or I had read someplace. But I was just concerned how quickly uh, pothos should be growing, because I thought if it likes humidity, then it's probably happier in the bathroom too.
Oh no, yes, they definitely love humidity. Um, Now, if you just got it in November, I mean, there's also, a couple things come into play. One, acclimation. So when you bring a new plant into the house, so it does take several weeks for it to
Oh
kind
yeah.
of just get its own. And then if we take the season into account, the amount of sunlight that it's getting, as well as the strength, it would probably need to move, if it's opposite a north window, a north
Yeah.
exposure.
Yeah.
Um, so that's not enough. It would either need to be like right up against that north window to get
Oh,
some more light. Um,
so if I put it on it like on a hanging basket right there.
yeah, yeah, I would suggest, I think you would need a little bit more sunlight to give it more, because yeah, that's a very, very gentle amount of
Yeah.
light. And so it's gonna need kind of more light to then make more resources to then put energy into growth. Um, that also could be why, with the yellow leaf that you saw. So if the plant, let's say, gets watered, but there isn't enough sunlight for it to actively use that water, right? So it can't,
Yeah.
the water ends up staying, basically the plant doesn't want to take up more water. And so then that water sits there and that can cause root rot. So it can basically be that the plant is being overwatered because there isn't enough sunlight. So it's like, let's say it's the same amount of water you've always given it, but because now it doesn't have as much sunlight, now that's too much water for it. If
So
that
how
makes
much do you think it should be watered?
Well, if you increase, I would say you can keep the same watering schedule, just move it closer to that window so it can use that water effectively.
Okay, and
Um,
so if I had it on a table close to the east window, that would sounds to me like that would be too much.
no, no, no. An east window
Oh,
would be
that would be
great.
good. Oh, that would be good.
That would be even better. Yeah.
But then it's not getting the humidity.
Um, yes, that's true. But with Pothos specifically, I mean, they have been, gosh, they have been pretty resilient, especially in terms of like they're commonly kept as like office plants with like AC and stuff like that.
Oh,
Um, so I think it might actually do a little bit better. If you ever want to give it a little bit of, extra humidity, you could, like, oh, hey, I'm gonna take a hot shower. Bring it in so it gets
oh
some
yeah.
humidity and then, plop it right back. Um,
But that east window would be good for it then.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Other options too for if you have like one plant that needs a little bit more humidity, there are tiny humidifiers. So like for instance, I have this little corner here with these plants. So it's like the top of this little shelf. And so these guys, it's more like these three that really and the little
oh
skin
yeah.
that need that humidity. And so what I have is this in the center. Let me disconnect it so I can bring it closer. Here we go. It's a tiny humidifier.
Oh, oh,
So it connects and then you can turn it on. And let me see here. There we go. And then you just fill it
oh.
up.
So you just fill it to a certain point and you just set it any place where several plants could use that.
Yep.
Oh, that's
Yep.
a really good idea.
Yeah. And these were like $10 or $11, something like that.
Oh,
And they're
that
super
certainly
tiny.
would be worth it.
Oh yeah, and they come
Yeah.
like this, and it's the same one, but it also doubles as a night light. So
Oh, that's really good. Yeah.
yeah, Brian has that one on his desk.
Oh
So
yeah.
his has an extra button, and when you click, it glows. And I was like, damn, I should have gotten that one, but mine doesn't have the light on it.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
but I have a bunch of these, and so I have Suzanne, this was on Amazon. So cactus humidifier. Um, and it's super tiny and it's good for when you have these little clusters of plants like this, or you have like that solo plant in a room where you
Yeah.
don't want to buy, a $50-$60 humidifier
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
one plant, right? So you're
Yeah.
like, I don't really want to do that. Then you can get this. You plug it in and it's super easy. I really, really love these things. And so I bought a bunch of them because I use them in our cabinets. I use them around the house in random spots, like here in our living room. Um, so this room, that temperature definitely, not temperature, the humidity definitely tends to drop. I mean, the temperature too can, but because we have the AC here, so that AC
Yeah.
is in there year round. So we get a little bit of that, even though it's like sealed on the sides, you still get some of that wind.
Yeah.
And so it can get a little chilly in here. So I'll put like a space heater. And then that also causes the humidity to drop. And so then I have to then I'll either pop these on, um, just to increase that ambient humidity. But I love these and they're super cheap. They work super well. I've had these for years. So they're wonderful and I've
You,
dropped them several times. So they're
Are they
durable.
like battery operated?
Oh no, they're with a charger. And so I have a little wire.
I see.
And so it's whoop, there we go.
Oh, so you have to plug it in.
Yeah, so you can plug it in and then let me see here. Oh, it's not connected on the bottom right now, but yeah. But yeah, so it's just connected. I don't know if they make a battery operated one,
Oh yeah.
but those, I mean, it has like a little, it comes with the cable, and so you
Oh
can just
yeah.
plug it in, and yeah, it's great. I definitely I definitely recommend that because
Okay, sure. Thank you very much.
you're very welcome. Good luck, and let us know. Give us an update if you start to see some new growth.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So should I cut that yellow leaf off?
yes, I would say to cut the leaf.
Okay.
Because once a leaf turns yellow, it's never going to turn back. And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's just better to cut it because then the plant isn't wasting energy trying to keep the leaf alive. Um,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about. Yeah, it would take extra energy and can't put it anyplace else.
exactly.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
you're
thank you.
perfect. You're very welcome. Oh, and Suzanne might be good to use near the bed. Yes. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I love the humidifiers we have next to our beds, which are for us, Brian and I. They're these little humidifiers. I'll bring the top because it's connected, so I don't but I love them so much. Because they look like little plants. Because they look like plants. So I only brought the top part because it's connected to our outlet that's behind our bed. So I couldn't bring the base. But these are humidifiers. So it looks like a potted plant. These aren't real, these are plastic. And these actually are LED lights, and so it lights up. And so the bottom part, I you fill up the chamber with water, and the spout is right there. And I have one on my side of the bed, and Brian has one on his side of the bed. And these are personal like humidifiers when we're sleeping. um, and these they can get a little dusty. So what I'll do is I'll bring this over to the sink and I give it like a little rinse, like every 2 weeks or so, just so that it doesn't collect a bunch of dust. Um, but it's great. It's wonderful. I love it because it just, it melts in with my other plants. And so, nobody would notice that it's not a house plant. And so it's a very cool decoration, right? But then it's also our humidifier. So I love these. I also got this off Amazon. Um, and yeah, so it's ceramic and some ASMR. Um, but yeah, these are great. These are great. If anything, I don't think I added these because these are like personal stuff, but I guess I could add it to the plant shopping list. Because this would actually work really well too if you have like a cluster of plants and it's more inconspicuous of a little humidifier. Now, this isn't going to do a big room, right? This is only going to do like a little thing. So if you have certain plants like on a little table or a side table next to your bed, this is perfect. The range is perfect. This definitely would not humidify like an entire room or even like a quarter of a room, but it would do like a little table setup. And so this would actually work well, like something like that, where it's kind of in the center, um, and you have your other plants around it, and it's kind of disguised. I mean, the cactus one also is kind of disguised as well. But I think yeah, probably this might be really good to use as well. Gonna push it over here. I don't want that to fall and break. Um, there we go. Okay, 15 on Amazon for the cactus, right? Yeah. And Gabby, my orchid is flowering again for the second time, third time if you count when I received it as a gift. I've noticed that the leaves are not looking good. They are limp and leathery. Is this normal when the plant is beginning to flower? I don't remember what happened last time, and I'm afraid I'll lose all the big leaves. Ooh, okay. If they're limp and kind of leathery, that sounds like dehydration. So however, um, I always want to preface when you have signs of dehydration, this doesn't always mean that the plant is getting underwatered. Sometimes the plant's getting overwatered, so the roots are rotting, and therefore the plant can't take up water. And so adding more water to a plant that's with root rot, definitely no. That's not the approach you want to take. So I do want to preface it like that. So there's something happening that sounds like it might be impeding water from getting into your plant. So either it I have to turn off Slack. The Slack notifications from work keep popping in. Let me just turn off my notifications. There we go. Sorry about that. If you kept hearing like in the background, our parrot Julia copies that. Sure, Gabby, absolutely, you can show it. So I would say to look at those roots. So take a moment to really look at the roots. Yeah. Oh, oh, hold on, Gabby, I can't hear you. Hold on. I'm asking to unmute. There we go.
Okay. Remember, I had this like crazy
Yeah.
root. It was like, what's going on with this plant? I repotted it. Look at this. It's growing these buds. But these leaves are like,
Hmm.
you know, um, this is kind of new. The leaves were always fine. They're just like kind of, you know. But I was wondering if it was because it's flowering. Does that mean the energy is shifting
Hmm.
to the flower, but not, but would that make it look like this?
No, so usually when a plant's flowering, it yes, there is a shift of energy, but it's more like it's not going to put out new leaves because it's focusing on the flower. But
Right.
it shouldn't make your current leaves look like that. Um, so I mean, there could be a couple things. So I would say definitely it
So I
looks like
just
the
stuck
root.
my finger in here and it feels pretty wet.
Okay.
So that means that I probably overwatered it. Is that
It
what that
could
means?
be overwatered.
Yeah, it's
Um,
wet.
because one thing you could do is if you have someone, hopefully if you have like do you have a soldering iron, like the oh, trying to think what else could even, I don't know, I think a drill would break the, because that's plastic. Is that plastic? Yeah. Because what I would recommend is even considering making more holes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I
So
could do that with a drill. I've done that before with these
okay, yeah, like making almost like holes like all around. You can make them
around
neat,
the sides.
with
Yeah.
but having so that there's more cross ventilation. uh
Okay.
because there's you can find like a lot of orchid pots too. They'll have like the lines, like the little it's almost like bars going around like
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
knitted or things like that. So I would say try to make more holes so that it has more of that cross ventilation, so it just dries out. It doesn't stay stagnant at the bottom. Because that could then lead to root rot because that
Right.
kind of
And then
gives. Oh, hold on. There we go. Uh-huh.
you think that would make them perk up again or
Yeah, I mean, if there's more oxygen in the substrate and it starts to dry out, I mean, I would say, when you're gonna make those holes, you're gonna want to take the plant out of the pot. So I mean, what you could do is, I mean, I really think you should take a look at the roots. maybe as non-invasively as possible, but just to look at the roots because what my
Cut
worry is
some
that
of them
there's
off. Yeah.
yeah, if you find
You know,
any
when it's, yeah, when it's flowering, is that okay to do?
yeah, it's a
Right.
tricky yeah. So I mean, if you want to try just making the holes for now,
I
um
might make a couple holes in the sides or the lower sides first. See what
yeah,
happens. It dries out, and then I'll do that after if I don't really
yeah.
see a change.
Oh, absolutely. Another thing too is have you tried orchid fertilizers?
No, no, I haven't.
So there are some really great orchid fertilizers. There's also a one that's like it's like a spray. And so you can spray it directly on the leaves of orchids. And so orchids, similar to like air plants, they can take in their fertilizer through their leaves. A lot of orchids can. Um, not all plants, unfortunately, like these guys can't. But certain plants can, and so they make specific like orchid fertilizers that you can spray. I think Hoyas benefit from that too.
Because
Um,
it seems like extremely healthy how this is growing. Like it grew kind of fast, and then it seems like the leaves are unhealthy. The flowering is very healthy. The roots on the top seem
look
healthy.
healthy.
There are
Yes,
all these roots in the back, like coming out, like new roots here.
that looks great.
Um, so you know, I don't know how to judge it, but I'll try that with the holes first and see what happens.
Yeah, please and keep us updated because yeah, while the plant does, shift its priorities basically to the flower, it should be taking up water and keeping those leaves looking nice and healthy. Um,
This orchid has been like my biggest accomplishment. It's like the one plant that is actually like I can't believe it's blooming a second time. That's insane. Anyway, well, thank you very much.
you're very welcome. And good luck. Definitely let us know.
Yeah, I
Oh,
will.
T Bailey is asking, how are your pineapple plants doing? How are your pineapple plants doing? Is this for me? T Bailey, I know that we had some students that had pineapple plants, but no, I don't have any pineapple plants. T Bailey. Thank you, Gabby. Oh, that you thought it was Gabby. No, I'm trying to remember which student. I know there's a student that has pineapple plants. If you're in there, if you're in the chat, let us know. Oh my gosh, your name escaped me. Um, but yeah, so you had like a hall and there was like a bunch of pineapple plants. Um, Jamie, someone once gave me one of those tiny flowering kalanchoes. It was full of flowers and had short, rounded leaves. Okay. After the flowers died, it began to grow tall and gangly, tiny leaves, long stems. I cut it down and tried to put it in the strongest light, but it's growing back to its same leggy shape. I don't want to add a plant light. Should I give up on it and just let it be in its shape? I have it in a West light. Ah, okay. Yes. All right. So, one big thing with these flowering kalanchoes, so a lot of these are basically triggered to flower, and so they're triggered to flower in these conditions where they're kind of there's like red light, and it's like specifically timed and the duration, so it really triggers those to all flower, and so you buy them and they look really pretty. But yes, once they're outside of those conditions, kalanchoes very often will start to ideolate, so they'll start to stretch. Once they've stretched, that's basically how the plant's going to be. The only thing you would be able to do is if you were to start to get some like regular growth on top, and then you were to cut it and kind of start that over. But the plant that's already like long and gangly, that will definitely stay like that, unfortunately. And once it kind of grows like that, it'll only be like the top growth that might grow in once it has like the appropriate lighting. It might grow a little bit normal, so that's why you can do like a top cutting. But the bottom plant, yeah, it's gonna stay in that weird shape. Um, oh, oh, I thought there was somebody there. But yes, so unfortunately, I'm so sorry about that. Um, oh, and thank you, Jen. I just saw your message. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, me too. I hope I feel better too. Oh, Gabby. Um, so, how often should a newly replanted aloe pup be watered? Great question. And so if it's newly replanted, you want to make sure that it's establishing its roots really well. So you do not want to oversaturate that water. So this is true of like basically all like succulent pups in general. I mean, hey, even a lot of other like cuttings and things that are newly transplanted into substrate, you don't want to completely saturate your substrate. And so for instance, like I like to plant up, I get a lot of pups from like my Sansevieria, my well, Dracaena, keep forgetting it got transferred to that new family, but basically snake plants. So you want to you can actually use a squeeze bottle. I really recommend getting a squeeze bottle if you're working with like pups, if you're going to be propagating, because it allows you to really focus like a little steady stream. You can kind of do like a little drizzle on the very top kind of layer of that substrate to dampen it just a little bit, but it looks like, you can dampen it maybe like about an inch in, maybe even 2 inches in, where it's not overly saturating the entire thing with water, like bottom watering it. I would not recommend that for like a brand new aloe pup. In terms of frequency, so that's amount of water, right? And in terms of a squeeze bottle, I'll bring one just so that you know what in the world I'm talking about. Um, here we go. So you can buy these. I think I got either 2 or 3 packs off Amazon. With these little squeeze bottles, I love these, especially when you have small plants. I have these. So this is, for instance, this little cactus cutting that I have. So it just really awesome. Lets me focus here. Oh, this is just for folks. This is a little irrigation system, and so I have holes in one of these shot glasses and no holes on the bottom one. And so then I have my little propagations in pond here. But yeah, I love these little squirt bottles. They work really great, and so it allows me to kind of, not directly at the base of the plant, because I'm not trying to create a big pocket of water right around the base that can rot, but like around a close proximity, not like the edges, but around the pup, and just saturated enough where it's like a little bit saturated, not the entire thing. And that so it gets some water. So that's, again, as I mentioned, that's the amount of water. In terms of frequency, for a pup, so for larger aloes, I tend to water mine about once a month. In the winter, I think it's less so. I think I actually end up watering them like every 5 to 6 weeks. But with a new pup, I would say the longest you should wait is 2 weeks. But you'll probably find yourself kind of doing like a little bit of a drizzle, and maybe every 7 to 10 days, I would say. So you don't want it to get dehydrated, but you don't want to keep it overhydrated. So if you have it in a warmer spot with a great lighting, you can get away with once a week doing that. If you have it in a cooler, or it's like winter slightly cooler, I would say give it like 10 days and always make sure that it's super dry before you're doing that. I like to start like with my pups. I like to actually start them in a rockier type of substrate. So either like leca, so I use clay, or pon or perlite. So for instance, I just pulled a pup from I'm always forgetting the name of that sayuri. I'm forgetting the common name for that snake plant specifically, but I had pulled a pup from it, and I have it growing in this. Okay, so these leaves were these were already in place, and so these were already kind of like broken off, and so I was like, I'm gonna leave them there for now. So this outer leaf and this outer leaf are no longer. But it's the middle, so it's growing here. So you could see these leaves are forming. So it looks like there's 3 leaves. They're about to split. And so these were the original 2 leaves when the pup started emerging. And so I have it growing just in that for now, for it to establish itself, instead of putting it directly in soil. You could do that though, absolutely. You can even pop it in the same planter, like off to the side, and just kind of do your little squirt bottle, because you don't want to water the mother plant that often. Um, but yeah, you can absolutely Sayuri. There you go. Thank you, George. Thank you. Yeah, I was like, it's like Sayuri, or Saui, something like that. Yeah. Um, but I like to start this because then I can see their roots. Um, so I definitely like to put the pups like that. And I mean, I have a lot of my cuttings, my succulent cuttings. I propagate them in some type of substrate like this. So it's a non-soil substrate. So like this is pon with some horticultural charcoal in there. You're welcome, Gabby. So the horticultural charcoal is good. It helps with filtration, bacterial growth, odor, anything like that. Um, so I like to mix that in there, and I throw a little bit of perlite in there. So I take my pond and I add like a couple more things in there. um, but yeah, I really like this mix. I also just use straight up leca. So those are those little clay balls. And just use that straight for a lot of my succulents. Barbara asks, hi, I have 2 jade cuttings beginning to root. Do you think they would prefer to be planted together in one pot or separated into 2 pots? I would suggest, I mean, it really comes down to aesthetically, how you would like to have them set up. So if you want kind of the lone, plant look, I would definitely say you would want to make that decision now, because it's going to be harder if you let them grow together and then separate them, because their roots will entangle. And so when you go to separate them, you can end up causing some unwanted damage to the roots. And so it really comes to, do you want like a fuller looking pot? So you can do that. Or would you prefer kind of like the one jade plant look, and have it growing like that? So it'll definitely be harder if you put them together and then change your mind. It would actually be easier if you pot them separately and then later you go, you know what, I actually want to make like a little jade forest. And then it would be much easier to then put them in the same pot. So I would probably say to plant them maybe separately, and then see how you like it. And if you end up wanting a fuller pot down the line, it's going to be much easier to combine them rather than to separate them. So yeah, that's what I would suggest. And let me see here. Ooh, Sherry, that's a great question. Do pups rob the mother plant of nutrients? Is there a rule as to when you should remove the pup? I have a pup on my bird of paradise plant that is quite big, but I'm scared to remove it without unpotting the mother plant completely. Plan to do it in the spring. Great question. So, um, a couple reasons why plants produce pups other than just like propagating because it is a form of asexual reproduction. But some plants are what is called monocarpic. So there are certain species of plants where they will only bloom once. So something like a lot of species of bromeliads, for instance, a lot of like some echeverias, hen and chicks. There are some species where they will bloom once. After they bloom and they look all pretty, they will start to produce pups because the mother plant is actually gonna die off. And so she is beginning the transfer. So she's making kind of little clones of herself, and then she's dying, and then those little clones are indeed taking those nutrients, but you don't want to interrupt that transfer. So if it's that specific species, because that's the process. And then these new pups, you can separate them out. You can keep them together. Some plants will produce more than one pup. Some will just produce one, and then the cycle basically starts all over again. So you wouldn't want to separate them. You would want to keep them together. Now, for plants that are not monocarpic that just make pups all the time, like aloes, snake plants, different types of plants that will make these pups. But it's no sign that the mother plant is dying or under stress, right? It's just she's just producing pups. She's happy. Then the rule of thumb, it really depends on the type of plant, but usually you want to wait, I think at the earliest, for the pup to be 1/3 of the size of the mother plant. I would probably feel more comfortable if the pup was either half the size, and we're talking like, like aloe. I mean, you could totally do 1/3. I mean, I've definitely removed them. I like to leave my pups until the mother plant has like no more room. Um, but they're not necessarily, so she's producing them. So she's not, they are indeed taking nutrients from the mother, but she's producing the pups. And so she's definitely trying to create, she's trying to put that energy into them on purpose. So yeah, you can go ahead and remove them, like if they're like 1/3 of the size, I would say. So if you're like your aloe plants here and it's like here, I think that should work. Now, you're talking about, oh, sorry, bird of paradise. I was thinking about aloe pups because we were just talking about aloe pups. With the bird of paradise, yes. Now with that, I would say, if you're gonna repot in the spring, then you can, because that's something you definitely want to pair, two things you want to pair. If let's say you're going to be repotting the mother plant anyway, then that's when you should take advantage and separate any pups that might be growing. So without completely unpotting the mother plant, I mean, if you're able to kind of partially uncover that base, right? So it might be a little slower process, right? But if you're able to do so, kind of, use like a trowel and kind of excavate the area around so you can see where it's connected, and to try to do it that way so that you're not taking the entire thing out. Yeah, usually if you're gonna repot a mother plant, you might as well remove any pups. But if you're intent on just removing the pup and you don't want to, mess with the mother plant, then yeah, you're probably gonna kind of excavate around it, try to get that soil out around it as gently as possible. I would suggest to possibly saturate, so kind of water your plant a few days before, so maybe like 2-3 days before, so that the the soil mix is a little damp and easier to work with rather than like brick hard and dry, which could cause even more damage to the roots. So I would say to like water at least leading up to it a few days, like 2, 3 days at the most before, and then use like a trowel to like a little, it's like a little just in case for folks that don't know what in the world a trowel is, it's like a little hand shovel. And so you can use that to you can also use like different tools to also loosen up the soil if you'd prefer as well. But yeah, just kind of slowly pull that out. But yeah, and good luck. That's awesome. So yeah, wait as long as there's no problem. Yes, exactly. You could keep a pup, with a mother plant indefinitely. There are a lot of plants that will grow that way. So like aloes will literally fill the pot with pups. Haworthias too, snake plants as well. So I'm all for leaving them until I can't see any soil, and then it's time for me to remove pups. so yeah, so you don't have to like panic if you have a pup, and it's not going to be doing damage to the mother plant as long as she's getting a good amount of light and like nutrition also in the soil. Yes, that's a good point. Suzanne says a table fork can be used like a narrow trowel. Absolutely, absolutely. Repurpose the the utensils. I literally have my baby spoon. So like we're talking like when I was a baby, eating eating baby food for the first time. My mom kept that spoon, and it's this really teeny tiny metal spoon, and we've always kept it. We've always had it, and I have commandeered that and made that the spoon I use use when I'm working with my succulents because it's such a perfect little size. And so yes, I have repurposed my baby spoon for my houseplant hobby. So absolutely, if you have a fork maybe that you don't like, I would definitely don't recommend using a table fork and then going back to eating with it. So don't do that. Mostly because even if you're washing it, I mean, some of our mixtures might have fertilizers and things like that in it. So that makes me a little uncomfortable as to any residue that might be left on there. And so I don't want to like then consume with the same utensil. But if you have like a fork you really don't like, it's just like, it doesn't sit comfortably, or something like that, by all means, repurpose it as a gardening tool. It works great. um let me see here. Oh, and Barbara, hi, I have African violets that were overheated this summer in the window. I kept it in a colder spot over the window. What would be best now? So are they doing a lot better now that you kind of moved them to a colder spot?
Hi, my darling. The leaves look like they're reviving.
Okay.
One of them has no stems and one of them has, I left them, but brown stems from the flowers that they did have before they started burning up. This window was good for 40 years and now it suddenly had gotten too hot over the summer, the same spot that things grew for 40 years here. But so now, yeah, they're reviving. I left them where it would be unheated in that window, just nice light. But now, right, I don't know really how to treat them to give them a good revival now. Keep them on the good path.
Yeah. No, yeah, and you had mentioned that you had like a bunch of plants that were in your windows, like,
Yes, and the Christmas cactus did beautifully. They're wonderful. I had showed them to you and the class. So happy we cured them. Well, there's no cure. It's not, we are not God of plants, but yeah, they revived. They're doing beautiful.
No, that's wonderful to hear. Um, oh gosh, but yes, with your African violets, um, yeah, Because I mean, that's a great thing though about plants is a lot of, a lot of them are very much resilient. So for folks, here that don't know, if your plant does get scorched, so if it gets like really overheated, let's say the house it can happen if your house is overheated. It can happen if there's like really strong sun that ends up, burning the plant. So there might be many, many reasons, but as long as the roots are fine, you still have a chance. So some plants, they'll still come back. Even if that happens, and the same is true for cold. So certain plants that have the top part gets completely damaged by cold, as long as those roots are safe, you can try and see if that plant, you can cut it back down and try to see if that plant will come back for you. So now that you've had it in that colder spot, I mean, if you're going to want to kind of acclimate it, you would have to acclimate it before moving it to maybe your intended spot for the spring and summer. So I would say that you could start when you're starting to get prepared, like okay, I'm going to start moving them. So you can do it in little increments of hours. So you can go ahead and like, all right, so you know you can put it in the spot that you're going to want to keep them for like, I would say like an hour on the first day. Uh-huh. Oh, I thought I heard something. But yeah, so like an hour on the first day, and then put it back after an hour. You can set like a little timer. And then the next day, see how it is. And then the next day you can try an hour again, just to make sure. And then after a few days, you can start to, 2 hours, maybe then you can jump to like 4 hours, like 6 hours, and then 8 hours, just so that it starts to kind of get used to that new space before just taking them in. Because I think if you were to put them from that cooler window to that brighter situation, like just like that, you would have to kind of start the cycle all over again. So I would slowly acclimate them. And then potentially, I'm not sure if you have window film or something. There are certain things that you can get that you could still see out your window, but it like lessens the strength of the light a little bit. If you think that the sun is too strong coming in, but you don't want to block out the light, but it's just to kind of dilute it a little bit, like diffuse it. So there are different things that you can get for your window to do that. Also, sheer curtains are just also another option if you don't want to put anything on the glass. Like a little white. So like I have here, so this is a western window. And so then we have these sheer white, oh, you can't even see them because it's so bright. But here we go. Yeah. Here we go. Gosh, yeah, it's so bright you can't even see them. But yes, we do have them. Well, we have them pulled back for now because during the winter the sun's not bad. But yeah, during the summer it can get pretty strong because it's a western window. And so we'll keep them, so the light is still coming through really nicely, but it's just a little bit kind of that intensity is a little diffused there. So that's another option. So because then you still have your privacy, but you're still getting a really nice amount of sunlight in, but with not enough that's gonna burn your plants. So oh, Suzanne, that's a good suggestion. A car window shade can be found with suction cups. Yes. So there are those shades that they stick with suction cups. I'm sorry. And you can pull them down when needed. So it doesn't have to be, down all the time. You can, hey, oh gosh, yeah, it's gonna be a strong day, and you can go ahead and lower it on a section of the window. That's a really good suggestion, Suzanne, definitely.
Those are all great ideas. I thank you very much.
Oh,
Okay, stay great. we never quit on it. Wait, we love our plants regardless. We never quit on them. We try and we try.
Oh, absolutely. And like I was mentioning with the cold, like that's what happened to this guy. Don't give up. So I had ordered this one, and gosh, what year was that? 2019, like maybe 2019. Um, and I ordered it, and it from Home Depot, and it just so happened that when it was being shipped was one of like the coldest weeks of December. And when it arrived, this entire, all of the whole top of the plant was like gelatin. The leaves were literally like tipped over, they were sloughing off. It was, oh my God. I was so, so upset. And so I ended up cutting them down. So you can actually see like where I cut all of them down, and it was just naked. So the whole top of the plant, I had to chop it off. But that the roots were still fine, and they have rhizomes. And so they look, for those that don't know, this is a ZZ plant. And so it looks like little potatoes. So those were still fine. And so I continued watering it and taking care of it. And it was a very slow process, but it's been growing, and it comes back. So it took months. I think it took like almost the first year for me to even start to see stalks finally coming out. It was dormant for a very, very long time. And then, yeah, it's been putting out growth. So, don't give up. Don't give up. Because yeah, they'll surprise you. A lot of plants are insanely resilient. Um, and you might think, oh no, that's it, the plant's done for. But in reality, no, it has more life in it. So just give it a chance. But thank you so much, and definitely keep us updated too with the African violet situation. So I think the incremental transition is probably going to be the best approach if your plan is to try to move them back into that lighting situation. And then if it's looking like that light might be a little bit too strong, considering putting some type of barrier, whether a curtain, um, that car window shade is such a good idea, Suzanne. Now I'm thinking about it, because like in the in the office, for my window, next to my desk is the fire escape window. So I want to be able to see, because I want to see if anybody's like on my fire escape. But I do want to put something. I have a sheer curtain as well. But I was thinking about trying to put something on that window. And now I'm thinking, wait, the car window shade is great, because I can just, put it like on the bottom half, and I can close that if the summer sun gets too strong. So now those gears are going. So thank you, Suzanne, for that. But thank you so much, and thank you, Barbara, for the question. um Let me see. And Barbara mentioned too that we use plastic forks and knives, that we don't use for takeout. Yes, absolutely. Repurpose those. They work great. As I've definitely used a lot of my containers where I have like perlite and things. I have like plastic spoons. I think even one of my succulent mixes, the jar has like a spork in it, because it's great, because then I can kind of mix it up. So yeah, no, I love them. Yes, as Suzanne, so they come on rollers like a window shade. Yes, so I think that would be great. I'm actually gonna test that out on my office window, because that's a really good idea. Um, yeah. Oh, Holly asks, what would happen if you placed a tinted film on the window, a blue or red one in the summer, and just to see how it would affect the plant, um, sitting by a tinted film. That is a really cool experiment, definitely. I know that Brian and I had been looking into that film that you put on windows, that because we have some privacy screen on the window by our bed, but it looks like rainbows. It looks really pretty, and it doesn't and we have like, that's where I keep all my succulent cuttings, and so it's fine like if they don't get like really strong light. But we were looking at the film where it looks like a mirror outside, but we can see through it, which looked really cool. The only problem is that it also blocks some light, like the UVB. I think it's UVB rays, and so we were kind of nervous that that might negatively impact our plants. And so I don't know if for a tinted film, I guess, yeah, we would just have to see. Yeah, I mean, it'd be a cool experiment. It would be a cool experiment. I would probably try to maybe even try to do that in, like, I have little glass greenhouses, and I'd love to experiment like that. Oh, Gabby, that's a great one. I use a window film that looks like frosted glass. I face south, so I get extremely strong light, and I can show you if you like. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I definitely I was looking also at like the frosted glass effect. It's just like Brian wants to be able to, like, because that window that we were thinking about specifically is in our bedroom as well, but it's the one that faces right in front of the building. And so Brian wants to be able to see out of it. And so we were trying to put our
I don't know if you can see this,
here we
but
go.
wait, I can't see it.
Oh,
Okay, so it's so sunny, but this one you might see better.
oh,
What I
nice.
like, God, it's like okay. So you can see my frosted glass on the bottom, and then I'm in a row home in Philly, so that's and then on top that's the normal. So I only put it on the bottom, and I put it there, and then I put it here, and my so it's like I move opposite, and it's like going opposite. So that's what I do. It works.
No, that's great. Yeah, there's so many cool ones. Uh Holly says, aren't the UV rays blue or red? So maybe there's a UV safe film. Maybe. Um Maybe I'm not sure. That's definitely, yeah, like I didn't realize that that other one that we were looking at that has, like, it's like the privacy screen where we can look out but they can't look in. Um it was only upon like further research that I realized about the whole issue with the UV. So yeah, I'm not sure. It's definitely something I'll have to explore a little further and see, like, what kind of light is being affected and would it affect our plants. Um, and if there is like UV safe film where we could put something that's not going to affect the UV. Yeah. Um, yes. Oh, Gabby, yes, exactly. Yours are made for privacy, but they work for plants too, and that's perfect. It's a win-win-win situation. So absolutely. Let me see here. Oh, Brenda, rosebush that I received as a Valentine's gift has failed to flourish. Can I grow it? Can I show it to you to get some tips? Sure. Oh, I'm so sorry. Roses, oof, they are, oh wow. Oh, hold on. Putting for you to unmute.
Okay.
There you go.
Now, I wonder if I can get a better so you don't have so much time. So I cut it back. You see how it's one side is very nice. This looks like it's got a brand new rose on it. It's still green and healthy. This branch looks healthy also. See, you see a nice red rose on it. But the roots, look at the roots. They're not very white. They're more brown.
Yeah.
So what happened when I watered it? I did not know it was in a plastic container.
Oh.
And the insert, all I could see was dirt from the heart.
Oh.
Okay. This was the insert.
Oh.
And therefore I never watered it enough. So I believe why it was dying from the bottom up, because it never got water in the roots. It tells you full sun keeps soil moist and is suitable for indoor or outdoor. I finally watered it thoroughly, allowed the water to drain. I have put it back. I'm afraid to put it in new soil or a whole new pot. I put it back. This was just yesterday. I put it back in this black container, like so, and I'm putting it back in here. And so my question is, should I remove the, if even though these stems are, as you can see, are green, this one here is definitely gone. It's dry, although it looks like it's still green, but that's the one that I cut most of the other falling things away, and the rest of it is dry. What's your suggestion?
Yeah. So with those, so I would say for the ones that have like the flowers are spent and they're dying off, if the stem is still green, I would say just a deadhead, so you can cut the top off back to
Okay.
the closest node. So where you
Uh-huh.
see that like the next growth point, you can cut
Okay.
it. You can do it in a slanted position, and then because it still might put out more growth. So
Okay.
so just in case. And I'm so sorry about not realizing. Yeah, that oh, I hate when that
I
happens.
mean, you saw the topsoil was nice and wet. I didn't know that I had not given enough to come all the way down to the bottom of the pot. And then I started seeing they kept getting yellow. Well, I saw yellow. I thought I overwatered it. Okay. But it was because it was, you can still see those yellow, see these leaves that are still yellow? All of this was yellow. And I had picked all of them off and cut back those pieces that were definitely dry.
And that was
But
a good
this,
call. Yeah, cutting them back.
mhm.
It'll promote some new growth. And so now that you figured out that you were underwatering, yeah, definitely you could bottom water them too when it's time for watering,
Uh-huh,
because that
uh-huh.
gives that really nice even saturation.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't give up on the ones that aren't looking that great, because I would say to, you can cut them back and see if because they might put out some more new growth now that, that's corrected, that the watering situation is corrected.
Yes.
Um,
Because
yeah.
you can see down on this root, on this stem right here, there's some new leaves growing on. So that means that's still alive.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
And if
See?
you're ever unsure if a stem is alive, especially some stems, right, they start to get woody. And so you're
Yeah.
kind of like, wait, is it alive? Is it not alive? You can do the scrape test.
I remember that from your other tips. I don't come to you every week, but I remember some of those tips that you have given me. That's why I'm calling you today. What's
Yeah.
the tip?
Yeah, because and that's the best way to know. And for folks that don't know what in the world I'm talking about,
You
is you
do.
make sure your nail is clean. So of course wash your hands. So don't but you make sure your nail is clean. And you can go up to the stem, and you basically very, very lightly scrape that top layer off. And you might have to go a little bit deeper, but you want to see green. You want to see green. If it's a woody plant, you want to see green inside of it. And so that tells you that it's alive. If that stem is like, yellow or like brown, and you're like, I don't know if it's still alive, and you do that and you see kind of like a beige or like fibrous, almost like it's super dry in the center, that part is dead. So, if there's still green on the bottom, you can cut it down. But yeah, that's a surefire way, because you want to make sure that there's some live tissue inside of that stem. So I wouldn't give up on those ones that weren't looking too hot. You can
And
kind
then the other one I'm gonna ask, then I'm breaking in on you, Jocelyn. Should it not be put out in the yard now the spring is almost here? I'm in Mapleton, Georgia. So our temperatures are still like around the 60 degrees most of the time now, right now.
of.
I was going to put it out in the yard. I said, no, oh no, Brenda, you better not.
Yeah, I would say
Should
to
this be
wait.
put in the yard?
I would say to wait a little bit longer. And that especially also if you're going to start to put it when it starts to get a little bit warmer, I would
Mhm.
also do the acclimation. So where you take it out for a few hours, then bring it back inside, and then the next day take it out for a few hours and bring it back inside. And as long as it's looking happy, you can try to push it and go, okay, I'm going to leave it for a little bit longer the next day and kind of watch how it's going, just so that the transition is also seamless. Because that's one big issue that happens in both directions when people are bringing out their plants from their house during
Mhm.
the spring and summer, and also
Mhm.
vice versa when people had their plants outside in the summer and they're bringing them in the fall. That very fast transition of just like, oh, pick it up and bring it right back inside, and then their plants are like, oh.
Yeah.
So you want to start that transition, a couple hours, a couple hours, a couple hours, and just to make sure the plant's okay, rather than a very rapid change. It can certainly cause damage to the plant. So I would say hold off until like the temperatures are a little bit more stable, and then when you are ready, kind of do that slow transition before, if you want to end up putting it, out the kind of full time for the summer or indefinitely. Because rose plants, a lot of them they're fine even if it snows. Right? So
And from pot to ground soil or pot to another planter pot soil,
oh
which
yeah,
would be the better. Start in the planter potted soil before putting it
yeah.
in a ground soil.
I would suggest that, yeah, since it's such a
Mhm.
small plant right now,
Yeah.
I would
Mhm.
say that, yeah, if you're gonna transfer it, into a larger space, so into a larger planter pot, see how it does. You might start to see more growth and things like that, and then yes, and then if you end up wanting to transfer it like full time into the ground because it looks like okay, it's used to the outside, I think it's gonna be good, and then yeah, and then that final transition.
Thank you.
You're very, very welcome. Yes, George, yes. So she's keeping that rose indoors at the current time. Oh, Terry asks, I finally divided a ZZ plant that was so large that the roots were distorting the nursery pot. Holy moly. Some of the leaves on the newer growth are turning yellow. Not all the tubers are exposed. Is this a problem? Great question. So in terms of like the distorting the nursery pot, yes, oh my gosh, when that happens, that is a surefire sign that it needs an upgrade. Definitely. In terms of the leaves on the newer growth turning yellow, yeah, so this could be a couple things actually. So now, just if you had just divided it, I mean, the plant can basically, there can be some damage that happen in terms of like the roots, and so sometimes it takes the plant a little bit to kind of get back into the swing of things. So sometimes you'll see like kind of like that repotting stress show off in like the leaves like that, because maybe the roots aren't doing that good of a job. um and sometimes it just makes them a little bit more sensitive, so if there's any like light changes or heat changes, anything like that. But in terms of yeah, the leaves for the newer growth, I mean, I would definitely take a look to see that there's also no pests. So that actually happened with my little ZZ. Some of that new growth was getting yellow, and I have it's called a Zenzi ZZ. um and when it was getting, oh, no, I just realized it has a new little pup there. Um but I for gosh, it was last summer when we were really hit with thrips, and the thrips actually were getting to this guy. And so I didn't know that. And so I had a lot of plants here that were affected by thrips. And so I had some growth that was coming in, and also, but I hadn't repotted in a while. So I was like, all right, that's not it. I haven't changed the watering. I haven't changed the spot. This is literally where it's been living for like its entire time that it's been here for years. And so it actually turned out that it was the new growth was being attacked by thrips. And so I had to treat it. And, you know, thankfully I had ended up cutting off 2 stalks, which I was like, ugh. But no, it, you know, still going strong, still going strong. So also, you know, take a really good look at that new growth, because a lot of pests will actually, they are obsessed with the new growth, because it's softer. You know, that cuticle, like that, the leaf hasn't hardened yet, so it's just much easier to predate on. So sometimes check that as well. Also, it could have been repotting stress. It could have been a potential pest. I mean, that's, you know, in terms of watering after doing like a repotting for ZZ, you know, I like to kind of keep them like a little bit more on the drier side. So, you know, maybe in terms of not having the tubers exposed, I mean, like for this guy, I don't have the tubers exposed. They're right below the surface. There's a lot of you can see there's like perlite, and there's some different substrate in there. So they're not, it's not like they're buried in the soil, but they are partially covered, but that's perfectly fine. And with that, with my black ZZ, some of the tubers are definitely exposed. um, and so, but I don't think that that would be have any bearing on any yellowing that might be happening on the leaves. So whether or not the tubers are exposed, you don't want them to be super buried where they are like they can be sitting like in kind of in water for a really long time, but and you want to make sure that there's like oxygen flow kind of going through that substrate. But if they're fairly close to the surface, I really don't think that that's the trouble. So yeah, and so you know, you can totally have them exposed, like the tubers exposed, and that's totally fine. So you know, you can opt for either or, as long as you know, the roots from the tubers are going directly into the soil, and you know, they're being nice and hydrated, then that's totally fine. So you don't have to worry. And yes, oh, and George, yes, so says don't worry, growers sell bare root rows in cool months. Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. They definitely do. So so yeah, roses, oh man, roses are really cool. They're very, whew, they can be very, very finicky. So it's yeah, it's always like a hit or miss, a hit or miss. Um, oh yeah, I think I have to check. I think I mentioned this too. I have some footage from the rose garden at the New York Botanical Garden that I have to edit. Um, I recorded a bunch of me just kind of walking through the garden and looking at some different varieties, and there were some really beautiful ones. So I definitely have to edit that and share that with you, because there were some really beautiful ones, like almost like lavender colored. Oh man, it was absolutely beautiful. Um, yeah, I also have a I did a tour, like walking around the rock garden as well. So I need to edit that one as well. But there's some really cool things in there. Um, but yeah. So let me see. So it looks like I think I got to all the questions. It is a must see, the best time to catch. The tour is in May or June. Yeah. Oh man. Um, I'm excited for this the upcoming, you know, spring and summer and all of the things that they're going to be doing at the botanical gardens here. So it's always really great, a really great time. I'm hoping to also see, you know, to get out more. This last year, I really wasn't able to, so I'm hoping that this upcoming year is different, and I'm able to get out there and do some more really cool, see some really cool exhibits, and I have some video I have to edit too from I did a tour at the Morgan Library Museum, and so I saw some herbals, so some books on herbs, like like they were like reference texts. Basically, they had a collection of them, but there were some from like the 1400s, 1500s. It was absolutely beautiful, and I got a nice amount of footage, and so I definitely want to put that together and share that with everyone so that you can see them. It was only here for a couple weeks, and so I was very happy that I was able to catch it before it closed. But now I have all this video to edit. I have so much video to edit. So I'm hoping that I'll have more time to focus on that this upcoming year, so I can show you all these cool things that I've checked out. I also did I did a tour walking through the it was called the Afro-Caribbean experience, I believe. I think I'm trying to remember the name of but that was the gist of the exhibit, but I'm trying to think of the exact title. I'm not sure if it was the African Caribbean experience or Afro Caribbean experience. But they had this amazing garden set up and showing how food, different types of vegetables and spices had come from Africa and were now predominantly used also in Caribbean cooking, and just kind of like that root and that culinary legacy, and how those flavors, those African flavors, were now being represented in the Caribbean, and how they're used today. And my father is Caribbean; he's from the Dominican Republic, and so I definitely wanted to go and check it out. And it was so beautiful. And there was like a poetry walk on the outer perimeter of the garden, and so you would stop, and there'd be these huge blown up poems by different Afro-Caribbean poets. It was absolutely beautiful. And yeah, and then across the street, it was the garden, but it was like across the way they had like a continuation of seed diversity by the same person. It was Jessica, I think it's Jessica B. Harris. It's Jessica Harris, the author, and she actually wrote the book High on the Hog. They also have a Netflix documentary called High on the Hog, which it just has a second season. I haven't seen the second season yet. And then she had this exhibit at the New York Botanical Garden with the garden, and then when you cross the roadway in another part of the garden, she had a seed diversity exhibit in like the children's garden. And so there was a bunch of seeds that were represented in the other exhibit, but then also there was like glass corn and some amazing seeds. So it was great. So yes, Brenda. Thank you so much. And yeah, it's always been really fun, and I really appreciate everyone who hops on every week to hang out and talk plants. It really is the best start of the week. So thank you so much. And please, I hope you enjoy the rest of your Monday. I hope you enjoy the rest of your weeks. Yeah, and of course, thank you, thank you, Barbara. And yes, yeah, Holly, yeah. Um, so gonna try to stay safe myself. But thank you so much, everyone. And yeah, please, happy planting for those of you that are starting, because yeah, spring is coming. And actually I even saw my first crocus of the season. And so it came up. I was walking over to grab some coffee over the weekend, and I saw my first crocus. But I saw that now the daffodils are the leaves are starting to come up and stuff. So it's coming. We're getting there. Much looking forward to it. So thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. And yeah, have a great one and bye for now. Yes, and the Philly Flower Show. I'm gonna see if that'll be a possibility. That'd be really cool to check out. Bye, everyone.